drawing more fans from all over the world. Local consumer prices continue to hover at the 2% rate in April. Turning to robots to allow the visually impaired the chance to better indulge in cultural experiences. Like the number of hybrid cars registered in South Korea surpassed 2 million with this locally developed Yuri rocket.
Arirang.
The Seollal holiday travel rush kicked off on Friday as people head across the country to make the most of the 5-day break. According to the government, the economy remains on a path to recovery, underpinned by firmer domestic demand and a resilient semiconductor sector. 17-year-old snowboarder Choi Ga-on brought home South Korea's first gold from the Milano Cortina Winter Games on Thursday, despite falling on her first 2 runs. Korea is gearing up for the Seollal or Lunar New Year holiday, which begins this weekend. For those heading home to celebrate with their loved ones, today marks the start of the holiday rush. Our Choi Ga-on is standing by at one of Seoul's busiest transportation hubs. Yang-eun, good evening. How is the atmosphere in Seoul Station at the moment?
Good evening, Tommy. I'm currently at Seoul Station, one of the largest and most crowded train stations in Korea. Behind me, you can see people carrying gifts and luggages as they start their holiday travels. With the 5 days holiday break just around the corner, many people are already making their way across the country to meet their family and friends. As the evening sets in, the station has been filling rapidly, especially after 6 p.m., when most people leave work. From February 13 to February 18, designated at the Lunar New Year special transportation period, a total of 2.12 million train seats have been made available. However, many bus and KTX tickets for journeys to major provincial cities had already sold out. Earlier today, I spoke with several people about their travel plans and their excitement for the holiday. Let's take a listen.
I don't have any specific plans, but I'm going to see my parents and meet up with my friends in my hometown.
I'm going down to my hometown to see my relatives and also to visit my ancestors' graves.
The 4 of us, my mom, my eldest aunt's son, and me, will spend time together.
Well, it's great to hear how people are looking forward to the holiday. Now, Yang-eun, what can travelers expect as the holiday travel rush continues?
The traffic is expected to get even busier tomorrow with heavy congestion forecasts on major expressways. The Transport Ministry estimated that around 27.8 million people will be on the move during the holiday period. The busiest day is expected to be on Tuesday, the actual Seollal day. On that day, 9.52 million people are projected to travel. Both homebound and returning travelers will crowd the roads, with an estimated 6.15 million vehicles using expressways. Traffic congestion this Friday peaked between 5 and 6 p.m. and is expected to gradually ease between 10 and 11 p.m. At 8 p.m., the drive from Seoul to Busan is estimated to take around 4 hours and 30 minutes. Travel time from Seoul to Daejeon is expected to be around 1 hour and 40 minutes, while the journey from Seoul to Daegu will take approximately 3 hours and 30 minutes by car. Peak travel congestion is forecast for Sunday, with the trip from Seoul to Busan expected to take up to 7 hours. On Tuesday, the 17th, the return journey from Busan to Seoul could take as long as 10 hours. However, not everyone will be spending the holidays in the country. From February 13 to February 18, Korea Airports Corporation expects approximately 1.36 million passengers to travel through Incheon International Airport, both departing and arriving. That's all I have for you, Tami. Happy Seollal.
That was our Choi Ga-on live from Seoul Station. Thank you and happy Seollal to you too, Young-in. And now in other news, a positive momentum can be seen in the Korean economy. Improving consumption and booming chip exports are driving the momentum, though risks still remain on the horizon. Kim Jun-hong reports.
South Korea's economy continued its recent positive trend in January, supported by stronger consumer confidence and the semiconductor-led export boom. That's according to the Ministry of Finance and Economy's monthly Green Book, which has described the economy as being in recovery for a fourth straight month.
The economy is maintaining its rebound, with consumption picking up and semiconductor exports leading the way. Although indicators briefly adjusted in October due to base effects, the recovery trend has resumed since November.
In December, overall industrial output rose 1.5% from a month earlier, with gains in manufacturing, construction, and services. Service output, retail sales, and construction investment also increased. Facility investment, however, fell 3.6%. Exports totaled $65.8 billion in January, up 33.9% from a year earlier, to reach the highest January figure on record. The ministry credited robust semiconductor shipments, which posted triple-digit on-year growth for leading the export surge. Total exports to the United States, China, and ASEAN countries all increased. Consumer confidence improved in January, with the index edging up 1 point from a month earlier to 110.8. Inflation rose 2.0% from a year earlier, as price pressures on agricultural and seafood products eased. However, the Finance Ministry voiced continued concerns over the pace of recovery in construction investment, the impact of U.S. tariffs, and weak job conditions in vulnerable sectors. It added that it will step up macroeconomic support while pushing measures to revitalize consumption, investment, and exports. Kim Jun-hong, Arirang News.
Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi could visit South Korea in March for talks with the President Lee Jae-myung, citing unnamed government sources. Japan's Jiji Press reported on Thursday that the visit is being considered as part of the two leaders' back-and-forth diplomacy, with the President Lee's hometown of Andong City, Gyeongsangbuk-do Province mentioned as a possible venue. A Blue House official told Arirang News that while both sides agree on continuing such visits, no specific dates have been finalized. Now, Lee and Takaichi last met in Japan's Nara prefecture last month. With Seoul and The Hague kicking off their first ever foreign affairs and trade strategic dialogue this week, the Dutch foreign minister sat down with Arirang to provide more insights about his visit. Here's our Oh Soo-young with more.
South Korea and the Netherlands are natural partners in chip technology and are bound together as liberal democratic middle powers. That's according to Dutch Foreign Minister David van Deel, speaking with Arirang News during his visit to Seoul.
So I think that both the Netherlands and Korea have been thriving due to the international rules-based order that's been built in the 80 years since the Second World War. We are both entrepreneurial countries, we have open economies, we are outward-oriented, we depend on other countries for our well-being and our economies, so that really binds us together.
The first 2+2 meeting of foreign and trade ministers took place in Seoul on Wednesday, with the two countries' semiconductor alliance as the main agenda. While Korea's Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix produce more than half the world's memory chips, Dutch firm ASML's lithography technology is an integral part of producing the most advanced semiconductors.
I think we're very complementary, but we also want to make sure that we safeguard this technology, use it in a responsible way, and also make sure that our potential adversaries don't make misuse of this.
This comes amid supply chain disruptions, economic coercion by larger powers, and technological rivalry.
I think it's very important for middle powers like Korea and the Netherlands to hold hands and to make sure that we keep advocating this international rules-based order that has brought us so much. And yes, that sometimes means that you also need to reduce dependencies, whether it's in the field of security or in the field of economy, to get a more even balanced approach within our alliances.
Cooperation is also broadening beyond economics to include defence and regional security in the Indo-Pacific.
Last year, our navies conducted a joint exercise, and as a former naval officer and also having spent time in NATO working on hybrid threats and cybersecurity, how do you intend to deepen the security partnership between South Korea and the Netherlands?
So I think there's a lot of opportunities in defense industry, in defense innovation, because both of our countries are very highly involved in new technologies, and we will see those technologies also seeping into the military, whether it's AI, the use of drones, which we're already seeing in Ukraine, or cyber. This will be a large part, and also we believe it important to be present in this region, if only for the freedom of navigation that we hold so high. So we will send a frigate again this year in 2026 to the region to participate in exercises with various countries here.
Also during his visit, Van Bael met with Unification Minister Chung Dong-young in light of Seoul's new policy of peaceful coexistence with North Korea. The Dutch Foreign Minister noted with caution Pyongyang's ongoing cooperation with Russia.
It has been supplying soldiers, it has been supplying equipment, and that cooperation only seems to deepen. At the moment, that makes it very, very hard to see anything positive happening vis-à-vis the North Korean regime. And I think that at the moment we would advocate for sanctions and pressure to stop this alignment and to make sure that North Korea doesn't gain any sensitive technologies from Russia in return for their help on this senseless war of aggression in Ukraine.
As Seoul and The Hague advanced their strategic partnership, the minister emphasized underlying common values.
I believe that we have a great basis to build on. I probably insulted your nation by saying you are like the Dutch people in Asia, but I mean that in a very positive way, that you are forthcoming, you are entrepreneurial, you are outgoing, and when you make a deal, it is a deal. And that for us are golden values that we find reflected in Korean society as well.
Minister David Van Bael, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
The race for the 2026 LCK Cup title is officially underway. The playoffs kicked off on Thursday at the league's home stadium, where the power of Korea's esports league was on display. Our Jung Hae-rim takes us to the opening round.
Surrounded by legendary champion statues and bathed in immersive blue lighting, this is Chiji Lol Park. Known as the beating heart of League of Legends champions Korea, this dedicated gaming stadium hosted the first round of the playoffs on Thursday, featuring 5 matches between DN Supers and BNK. At the entrance, a shop filled with fan favorites from uniforms to League of Legends merchandise. The playoffs have attracted many fans of both teams who are eager to show their support, including at the Bilgewater Zone, where people can design their own cheer banners.
I'm a big fan of Dudu, and today's a revenge match, so I hope his team wins. Good luck, DN Supers.
The stadium also featured events run by the teams. BNK hosted a booth with their signature Fox character. As LCK is loved by both domestic and international fans, the stadium was also full of tourist attractions. Team uniforms, accessories, and trophies were on display, highlighting the significance of Korea's role in esports.
Yeah, it looks very impressive. Like I've been on to venues in Europe, for example, and they're also very impressive, but this is like another level.
One by one, fans entered the stadium, filling the arena with raw emotion. Fans roared with excitement at every kill, or groaned in collective disappointment as the tide of battle turned. DN Supers took the first set, defying most predictions and showcasing their determination to reach the top. With the first round of the 2026 LCK Cup playoffs just finished, the atmosphere here at the LCK Arena is electric. The winner today will take a step closer to the finals in Hong Kong. However, the battle was far from over. The series turned into a grueling marathon going the full 5 sets. Despite DN Super's early momentum, BNK fought back fiercely and ultimately secured a hard-fought 3-2 victory late into the night. The match was a reminder of the intense passion that drives the league. As the road to Hong Kong continues, the heat of the LCK is burning hotter than ever. 정혜림, Arirang News.
Now over in Italy, South Korean snowboarder Choi Ga-on captured the country's first gold medal at the 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Olympics, making history as the first South Korean to ever win Olympic gold in a snow sport. Kim Do-yeon reports.
From the brink of being taken off the course on a stretcher to the top of the podium, 17-year-old Choi Ga-on took gold in the snowboard halfpipe at the Milano Cortina Winter Games on Thursday, despite falling on her first 2 runs. Her first fall was especially concerning, with officials even preparing a stretcher fearing a serious injury. She managed to get up, but fell again in her second run, leaving her sitting in last place with 1 chance left. In her third and final run, Che landed her signature switch backside 900 perfectly. Judges awarded her a massive 90.25, vaulting her past defending champion from the US, Chloe Kim, who was leading with a score of 88. When Kim fell on her own final run, Che's victory was sealed. Ironically, Che had named Kim as her idol in an interview with Korean broadcaster JTBC prior to the competition, saying Kim never gives up and stays focused to win on her third run, even if she falls on her first 2. Both competitors' relationship also goes a long way back, as Kim's father helped Che train and compete in the US from a young age. Che has now broken Chloe Kim's record to become the youngest ever winner in this event while securing the nation's first ever gold in snowboarding. South Korea has stayed strong in the snowboarding section during this event as a whole, picking up a gold, a silver, and a bronze medal. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
A new K-pop themed film starring and directed by mega hit singer-songwriter Anderson Paak is set to hit theaters this month. For more, we turn to our culture correspondent Paak Konu tonight. Welcome back, Konu.
Thanks for having me.
So Konu, it's all yours.
All right. So many viewers will know Anderson Paak as a multiple Grammy Award winner behind Leave the Door Open with Bruno Mars, and also many collaborations with K-pop artists including BTS and even G-Dragon. And now, as he moves into film, this project is growing. It's gaining growing global attention. So let's first take a closer look.
A new K-pop challenge for this African-American artist of ethnic Korean heritage, Anderson Paak. The multi-Grammy winner is pulling double duty, starring in and directing the upcoming movie K-Pops. The film centers on a struggling musician who reconnects with his rising K-pop star son and enters Seoul's fiercely competitive K-pop scene. And the inspiration, his K-pop loving son, who also appears in the movie as his on-screen son.
He was like, I don't really want to listen to your music, Dad. I'm listening to BTS, Stray Kids. He was into it, and I was kind of like the odd man out, and so I was learning about all the K-pop music. I thought that could be a unique way to tell and shine a light on both sides of my culture, my Black culture and my Korean culture.
The idea was born during COVID when his tour was halted and father-son time naturally increased, eventually leading to 5 years of working and acting together. Paak says his son was a constant source of encouragement along the way.
I didn't know that if I could be on set 6 a.m. every day and also learn my lines, also get the music done, I was getting scared. And I was asking my son, like, do you want to do this still? And he was like, I better do this. I've been in acting classes and dancing classes for a year. Like, I'm ready. Let's do it. And so I was like, all right, let's do it, man. I'm ready to go. If you're not scared, I'm not scared. And we'll learn this together. And
Beyond the hard work, he says the project allowed him to expand his artistry beyond music and to share it at a time when K-pop dominates the global stage.
I think it's just impeccable, like on the heels of things like K-pop Demon Hunters. And I just hope that the people within K-pop continue to appreciate the culture, the art, and, continue to go back and maybe bring and reach back within, some of the people that they pulled from.
The film also features K-pop heavyweights, including G-Dragon, Vernon of 17, Jay Park, and Jessie in cameo roles and on the official soundtrack. And for the cast, the story also hits close to home.
It's very reflective of our own journey as struggling musicians. There's a lot of similarities between the Black and Korean community, and in a world where everything online is so divisive and everyone's kind of fighting on the internet. We wanted to bring kind of joy through music and two communities together through music.
I can win the competition. Bridging cultures through a shared musical journey, the film's already gaining global attention after screening at major festivals, including the Toronto International Film Festival. And now, K-Pops is set to hit US theaters on February 27th.
It's so exciting, Konu. Now, will we get to see the film here in South Korea as well?
Well, for now, it's only set to release in the United States. But here's what Anderson secretly told us.
But there will be very, very special news following that where everyone will be able to watch it. I'm just not sure if I can say it right now, but I can assure you that my Korean people will be able to check out K-pop. So K-pop fans are going to be thrilled with all the K-pop cameos like Vernon and Jay Park, Jessie, the Rose. I mean, we got so many amazing people on the soundtrack.
Speaking about his growing interest in K-pop, he also mentioned artists he hopes to collaborate with.
Mr. B, he's an artist, he's a drummer.
Like Stray Kids and Twice, Blackpink. More stuff with BTS would be great. New Jeans. And even Longshot, Jay Park's new group, Cat's Eye. There's so many groups I would love to work with. And I think sky's the limit for K-pop. And now that it's getting really recognized globally and they're massive, I feel like people are still discovering it.
Now, Konu, I'm wondering, are films like this actually helping Korean films, become the mainstream in the U.S.?
Absolutely. So we've already witnessed that through K-pop Demon Hunters, the impact, how it brought in the United States, including a Grammy win. And according to the latest American Community survey by the U.S. Census Bureau, the Korean population in the U.S. has surpassed 2 million, with nearly 30% identifying as multiracial. And that's why an insider of the LA Korean Festival Foundation that's jointly promoting K-pops says films like this are meaningful as they reflect the diverse lives of Korean communities in the U.S.
Our responsibility is to create space where every Korean, regardless of your background, feels pride in our heritage. This film really contributes meaningfully to that vision. We could do so much to advocate and to show the United States what Koreans are all about. My role doing that is to have more festivals. Nowadays it's all about experience, and K-culture is one of the best experiences you could have.
Last year, more than 400,000 people attended the LA Korean Festival across just 4 days. And Cha also noted the audience wasn't just Korean, but also African American and Latino communities all coming together just to experience K-culture.
So exciting. Konu, thanks for coming in tonight, and you have a great Lunar New Year holiday.
Okay, happy Seollal, Demi.
Hello and welcome. I am your AI sports correspondent, Arirang. This section features AI-generated content and scripts. Bringing you the latest news from the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026. Here are our top stories. South Korean skater Im Jong-un has won the bronze medal in the men's 1,000-meter short track. The 18-year-old clocked a time of 1 minute and 24.611 seconds after making a late push from 5th place to the lead group during the final lap. Following a photo finish, officials awarded the gold medal to Jens van Avoudt of the Netherlands and silver to China's Sun Rong. This podium finish at the Milano Ice Skating Arena on Thursday is the first medal for the South Korean short track team and the nation's fourth overall at the 2026 Games. The South Korean women's curling team defeated host nation Italy 7-2 in their second round-robin match on Friday in Cortina d'Ampezzo. Led by skip Kim In-ji, the Korean squad secured a decisive 4-point lead in the sixth end, which prompted Italy to concede the match. The victory gives South Korea a 1-1 record in the preliminary stage following an opening loss to the United States. The team will face Great Britain on Friday. South Korean figure skating star Cha Jun-hwan is aiming for a place on the podium. After placing 6th in the short program with a season best score, he now eyes the podium in the free skate. Cha has simplified his routine to focus on perfection and confirmed he's planning to quadruple jumps rather than 3. The final showdown begins on Saturday at 3 a.m. Korea time. The scores of the short program and free skate are combined to determine placement. Cha will perform to Bailada Para Un Noko, the same music that brought him Asian Winter Games gold. If he makes the podium, he will be South Korea's first ever men's Olympic figure skating medalist. Snowboard prodigy Itaewon has become the first South Korean male to reach an Olympic halfpipe final. The 19-year-old secured his spot by finishing 9th in the qualifiers with a score of 82 points. He will take to the slopes for the final on Saturday at 3:30 a.m. Korea time. He is now preparing a secret weapon for the final, a triple cork 1,620, which involves 4.5 mid-air rotations. The former world champion missed out on the medals 4 years ago in Beijing. If he is successful on Saturday, it would be South Korea's first men's halfpipe Olympic medal. Before we head out, let's look ahead. Appearing now on your screen are the current medal standings and the upcoming schedule for the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026.
What a dusty day we've had. The first high concentration dust reduction measures of the year have been issued for Seoul, Gyeonggi-do and the west of Gangwon-do province. But sadly, air quality will get worse tonight with very bad levels expected for the capital region. And many dry weather advisories have been lifted except along the east coast. But with warm and dry conditions continuing and more people visiting grave sites during the holiday period, wildfire risks remain elevated. And tomorrow morning, Seoul will be waking up to a low of 4 degrees Celsius, Daegu at just 1 degree. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will make it to 12 degrees Celsius, Daejeon, Gwangju at 15 degrees. Now, no severe cold is expected during the Lunar New Year holiday, although morning lows will still dip below freezing. With that in mind, here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That's all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Da-mi. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.
How to survive in Korea. One room. So, you're surviving in Korea. If you've signed a contract for a one room, obviously you're a pro. But the real deal begins now. Step 1. Housewarming. No need to buy toilet paper, diffusers or hand soap. You'll get them soon enough as housewarming gifts. And some are bound to pile up. There's nothing better to serve your guests than milpaeyu nabe. If you have Korean friends coming over, don't forget the extra garlic. Step 2. Garbage disposal. With great power comes great responsibility. You've had a good time, so let's get to work. It might be tempting to sweep everything into a trash can, but you have to separate your garbage. Not bothered? Beware that negligence is punished with a fine or public humiliation. Step 3. Drying rack. You're excited to live alone in Korea, but the fate of these items, hanger, storage, or a hanger. Go get fresh coffee outside. Jogging doesn't cost anything, and nothing beats instant rice. But keep one item around so that you don't get too lonely. Step 4. Pros of living alone. No mum. Cons of living alone. No mum. A new towel doesn't magically appear. You have to do the laundry regularly. If anyone gives a towel as a souvenir, take it. Get rid of mold immediately. Don't be lazy with the vacuum cleaner. Housework is an endless affair. Overwhelmed? Give your mum a call and thank her for everything she's done. Did you survive in your one room? Wait, you have an unwanted visitor. Call someone you fancy. Could be the right person for the job.
Knock knock! The magical door to the world of K-animation is swinging wide open. Meet your instant new BFF, the adorable Catch. Tina Ping will have you hooked from the very first glance. Need a hand? Our Robocar Poli Rescue team is always zooming in to save the day. How about tagging along on Pinkfong and Pal's super exciting quest to reclaim their lost magic? With the mysterious life forms Choi-Ga-on by your side, you can become a Cabian master and save humanity like the total hero. Protecting children's innocence while igniting their boundless imaginations. That's the magic of Korean animation. K-animation, the ultimate bestie for kids worldwide.
Welcome to Within the Frame, where we bring the most pressing issues across the globe into focus. I'm Kim Mo-gan. The last remaining arms control treaty between the United States and Russia, New START, officially expired on February 5th. With it, the final barrier holding it back, full-scale nuclear competition between the world's two largest powers has now disappeared. As Washington floats the idea of bringing China into a new trilateral framework, concerns are rising that we could see a return to Cold War-style dynamics, but this time with faster, more advanced weapons. Now, these developments inevitably cast a long shadow over the Korean peninsula as well. With North Korea preparing for its 9th Party Congress and signaling a stronger military posture, the question now is, how does this shifting global nuclear order reshape the security calculus here at home? For a deeper discussion on this, we connect to Dr. Stephen Norper, President of Asia Dialogue. Very good to see you.
Good to see you.
And also joining us is Go Myung-hyun, Senior Research Fellow at the Institute for National Security Strategy. Good to see you again, Dr. Go.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start a discussion first with Dr. Norper. Like I've said, the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, it expired on February 5th. What does this actually mean in the current global security landscape? And also, why did the two sides fail to reach an extension agreement?
Well, that's a great question. In a global security landscape that is as fast-changing as the one that we face now, it's actually a very significant development and a very worrying concern. You just showed former Presidents Obama and Medvedev, who had signed that agreement in 2010. It bought 15 years of tacit agreement between the United States and Russia, building on an earlier agreement. To not have that in place is very worrisome. It sends all the wrong messages in the sense that Russia and the United States are not legally beholden now. Both seem to have agreed to a one-year extension. The Kremlin has said through Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov that Putin is willing to extend a year if it's held in the current state. And the White House seems disposed in that way as well. And of course, President Trump, as you just shown through his Truth Social post, has called for a stronger agreement. He's also very interested in getting China at the table. So it's a mix of different changes in the international arena, the faster weaponry you mentioned, the hypersonic missiles, cybersecurity, and missile defense systems that are new that have thrown things off kilter. But to not have those protections in place, a very worrying development because it creates potential tensions that could go awry. It also sets a very bad example for North Korea, for others, and it brings up the potential for an arms race and a crisis in nuclear nonproliferation.
Right, definitely. So it's a real shift in the global balance now. And as Dr. Norper has just touched upon, the U.S., it's interested in bringing China into the trilateral framework. Dr. Go, what is Washington's core goal in trying to bring China into this negotiation?
Oh, yeah, the main purpose of this new, the reason why the New START treaty hasn't been renewed by the United States is because United States especially believes that it doesn't really reflect the situation on the ground, which is rapidly changing, mainly due to China's fast build-up of its nuclear capability. So the New START treaty is a bilateral treaty between Russia and the United States, and really ties down the respective powers' nuclear arsenal to around 1,500 warheads max. But then what happened in the last 10 years is that China has been increasingly becoming more capable in terms of nuclear capability, also in terms of the size of its nuclear arsenal. So back in 2020, only 6 years ago, China had around 200 nuclear warheads, and then it's expected to build up to 1,000 nuclear warheads by 2030. So there's a growing perception in Washington that this New START treaty is, which is tying down U.S. nuclear capability, is not really binding China's nuclear ambitions just as tightly. So this is one of the reasons why the United States wants to include China in any type of a new arms control framework in the future.
Well, that's the goal of Washington, but we hear that China, it has refused to join the existing framework, pointing to the different size and structure of its nuclear forces compared to U.S. and Russia. Dr. Norbert, what kind of agenda setting do you think would be necessary for trilateral talks to actually move forward with China?
Yeah, an important question, because the likelihood is that it will be made not so much on strategic levels, meaning not so much in terms of the type of weaponry, though China does argue that it's smaller and not as formidable as U.S. and Russian capabilities. As Dr. Go has just said, those are capped at 1,550 under the New START agreement, also the delivery systems. So ready operational heavy delivery is capped at about 700 and non at about 800. So it's a question of the lethality, the size, and also the delivery capability. The way out, though, would be for President Trump and President Xi in their meeting in April to move forward on this. It should be a priority of the White House, and what the United States is likely to do is to try to argue through its leaders' meeting that China needs to come on board. It will make the same arguments to Russia, and clearly Putin and Trump share a continuing dialogue, as Trump claims he does with Xi as well. So do expect the three leaders to be talking about this very specifically, and the off-ramp will be in China agreeing to some arms control. The other way around it, and to be more inclusive, is to get the other nuclear powers, Britain and France, at the table with China, the United States, and Russia, and to try to strike an agreement that way. That may be more palatable for China.
Now, that being said, the end of this New START is also raising concerns about renewed global arms race. And some say it may trigger a faster shift towards a qualitative arms race rather than just a numerical one. And at a time when the nuclear risk is said to be at its highest in decades, Dr. Norbert, what dangers could this type of competition bring?
Oh, it's tremendously rife with danger. The idea that you would have qualitative enhancements, which really are the factor of the day, as you led off with the mention of that high-speed capability, hypersonic delivery, new levels of efficacy, and warfare itself has been changing, as we've seen widely and globally in Ukraine and elsewhere. And so the idea of the enhanced lethality, given the inputs of new technology, are very, very dangerous indeed. That is also very dangerous relative to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. And clearly China is seeking to duck as the United States and Russia move away from the New START commitments, at least titularly. And clearly for smaller countries, this leaves them adrift and wondering, where are the guarantees? And to remain committed to the Non-Proliferation Treaty is a trade-off compared to pushes for autonomous capability and the development of individual capability by different nations. And so we will see calls for that in other places, and it could hit Northeast Asia very hard. So to avoid an arms race is critically important at this point.
Well, definitely, it may be even destabilizing more than one in numbers. Now, meanwhile, there are also projections that if nuclear competition ramps up again, North Korea will flat out reject denuclearization demands. Dr. Go, how do you assess the current shift influencing Pyongyang's arms development pace or even its negotiating posture?
Well, clearly, North Korea's illicit nuclear program is not motivated by arms race between the United States, Russia, and China now. North Korea has been developing its nuclear capability independent of the arms control framework, which actually was working quite well until recently. But on the other hand, clearly, if we are at the precipice of arms race in the nuclear field, then I think it's going to really provide more justification to Pyongyang and rationalize its behavior. And also, not just politically, but as North Korea sees that major powers, United States, Russia, and China, are building up more nuclear weapons, they might think that they might feel the need to develop or grow their nuclear arsenal even more because they feel the need to respond to growing size of a nuclear arsenal, and also other sophisticated weapon systems that could be targeted at the country. So I think North Korea might, first of all, feel justified in its behavior. And second is that in terms of hardware, they might feel the need to match US capability, especially missile for missile. So in that sense, I think really increases the chance of North Korea engaging even bigger expansion of its nuclear arsenal in the future.
So it's kind of bringing North Korea further to denuclearization, we can say, right?
Yep, exactly.
Then with the scenario, Dr. Norberg, what kind of direction should South Korea's security strategy take in response to that? And what about broader cooperation frameworks, trilateral ties like, South Korea, US, Japan, or South Korea, China, Japan?
Well, certainly. South Korea will be looking in several different directions. One, of course, is the trilateral relationship you mentioned with the United States and Japan. President Yi has been quite pragmatic in his reach out to Japan. We see with Prime Minister Takaichi just receiving a new mandate this last Sunday with her strong electoral win that she may be in for some time in office. And of course, what that creates is a dynamic where they need to coordinate. And if they don't, if there's a falling off or a failing, then we have a more vulnerable situation. There will be calls from the far right in Japan, as well as from some conservatives in South Korea to develop autonomous nuclear capability. That has been an ongoing concern of the United States as it tries to contribute and to manage that trilateral relationship. We also have concern for countries like South Korea if they're forced to choose between China and Japan. The political pressures now will be very strong on countries like South Korea. And so that will be difficult if Prime Minister Takaichi feels emboldened with this win and the ties between Beijing and Tokyo fray even further. However, China may be quite pragmatic, accept that, and find a diplomatic solution out, let's hope. But we need to watch this very carefully because there is no guarantee around the Americans. People are less trusting of the United States under Donald Trump, and there's lots of concern that the U.S. is not a reliable partner. If that distrust prevails, then it will cause many to rush toward the option. And that's what we don't want, to see a world that has grown more nuclear with that option being undertaken.
Right. So with the growing uncertainty, it seems the South Korea strategy has to evolve through that too. Now, shifting gears a little bit, on February 8th, marking the 78th anniversary of the founding of the Korean People's Army, North Korean Chairman Kim Jong-un stated that the next 5 years will be a period where the regime's military role will become even greater. Dr. Go, how could we read into these comments?
Well, I think we have to look at the timing of the remarks. It was made on the day of the anniversary of the establishment of the North Korean military. And also, it's very near the time for the start of the Ninth Party Congress. We know the agenda in the Ninth Party Congress will be marking the milestone of North Korea's military achievements in the last 5 years. And one of the major drives behind North Korea's military development at the moment is the integration between its conventional and the nuclear capability. And North Korea has achieved a very high level of nuclear capability built up in the last 5 years. What's lagging behind is North Korea's conventional capability. And I think Kim Jong-un probably is going to use this occasion of the Ninth Party Congress to even give even more highlight to the need for North Korea to catch up with South Korea and the United States in the conventional military domain, and also announce further plans to enhance the capability in that particular type of military capability. So I think this is going to have a message that North Korean military is even more capable than before, not just because it has nuclear weapons, but now North Korea is using the nuclear weapons, adapting the nuclear weapons capability into its conventional doctrine. So in that sense, it makes North Korea's threat even more powerful. So I think that's going to be the reason why Kim Jong-un made such an announcement that he expects North Korea's military to have a much more pivotal role in the next 5 years.
Then what do you think the Party Congress will lay out North Korea's future strategic direction, especially in terms of its messaging towards U.S. and South Korea, Dr. Go?
So, for instance, when it comes to South Korea, we know that North Korea has been very consistent in its hostility towards Seoul. North Korea has been very engaged in a very systematic efforts to dismantle its previous doctrine of unification of the two Koreas. It's replacing that with the new doctrine of so-called two hostile states doctrine, which considers South Korea to be North Korea's main adversary, not adversary, but actually an enemy state. And this has a very strong downstream ramifications in North Korea's political system because North Korea, for instance, had several agencies and ministries in charge of inter-Korean dialogue, which have been dismantled. But in a most meaningful way, I think what's going to affect North Korean state is the entire legitimacy built around the fact that North Korea pursues national unification. So ideology is very important in North Korea, and now that North Korea is proposing to replace the unification ideology with an ideology of confrontation with South Korea, North Korea will have to engage in a lot of political maneuvers, a new formulation of its doctrines and also its policies. And it's likely that the mechanisms or new framework to engage in such actions will be announced in the upcoming Ninth Party Congress. So I think all eyes are watching very closely on what's going to be announced in this Party Congress because it's going to have huge implications for the inter-Korean relations for the next 5 years. Mm-hmm. And also when it comes to the United States, the expectation is pretty down to earth. I think that there isn't much of a high hope that Kim Jong-un is going to make a major diplomatic initiative announcement in this Party Congress. I think North Korea might actually remain, when it comes to its posturing towards the United States, North Korea might just announce that they're still interested in engaging countries that are interested in respecting North Korea's ambition in the nuclear field.
Mm-hmm. So it seems we're going to expect Pyongyang's next playbook in the Congress. Well, there's also talks about whether this Congress could serve to elevate leader Kim Jong-un's political status. Some even suggest the possibility of reviving the presidency once held by Kim Il-sung. Dr. Norbert, what would be the meaning behind such a move?
I think that's a very good observation. Don't be surprised if you see that type of titular upgrade. Clearly, it puts him on a level where he can equate himself in the international community as well on the presidential level. He may feel that makes communication across with President Vladimir Putin of Russia or President Trump or President Xi more on an equal parallel. It also underscores this idea that Dr. Go was talking about in terms of a two-state reality and the fact that he sees himself as the sovereign head of that. So it really wouldn't be that much of a surprise, but it would be worth noting because it shows that this continued lock into a two-state or two kingdoms period is very much what North Korea is seeking. I think the other element that we haven't mentioned is that the relationship between the DPRK and Russian Federation is quite strong. It is much enhanced. And so I think he will take comfort in his relations, in particular with President Putin of Russia. And so in that sense, perhaps that makes an upcoming presidential summit between Trump and Kim, perhaps in Pyongyang, perhaps in Moscow, more of a likelihood.
Mm-hmm. So a new title for Kim, it would definitely bring up big changes moving forward. Now, following the Ninth Party Congress, there are predictions that North Korea could add a new territorial waters clause into its constitution, potentially using it to nullify the northern limit line in the West Sea. Dr. Go, what are the chances of this becoming, a reality, and how might it affect security in the Korean Peninsula?
Well, I think it's going to be a product of necessity of the change of the North Korea state doctrine from one of unification to the two-state doctrine. I mean, by announcing that North Korea is no longer interested in South Korea, it's likely that North Korea will have to actually make it clear what are the boundaries of North Korea now, because before North Korea, because it pursued unification with the South, just like South Korea has enshrined its constitution that the extent of South Korea includes the North. North Korea did had the same stipulation on its laws and constitution. So now, by amending it, North Korea will have to make a clarification on what's the total extent of its territory, and that impact will involve North Korea in this like a tricky, ambiguous gray waters of territorial waters in the Yellow Sea, and that I think North Korea might actually use that occasion for sending a threatening message to the South, because there's a conflict between North and South when it comes to the actual line that separates the North and South in the Yellow Sea or the West Sea for South Korea, and it's been a source of conflict between the two Koreas for decades now. And I think North Korea, by making a maximalist claim on that disputed territorial sea, it might actually increase the level of threat, but also pressure on the South in terms of military posture, as well as demanding South Korea to react. So I think it's likely that North Korea will use this opportunity to stake a claim in the Yellow Sea disputed area.
So it could raise tensions in the peninsula, and we'll have to keep close tabs on the developments on that sensitive matter. But as for now, we'll have to conclude our discussion right here. Thank you so much for your insights, Dr. Go.
My pleasure.
And of course, Dr. Norber, we really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
And that'll be all from us on Within the Frame tonight. Be sure to tune in again next time as we continue to explore the stories that matter. Till then, stay informed and engaged.